Title: The Security Guard Who Saved 140 Children. Brief video description: the heartbreaking true story of Amin Abdullah, the 51-year-old security guard at the Islamic Center of San Diego, who gave his life during the May 18, 2026 shooting, after engaging two attackers in a gun battle and radioing the lockdown that helped protect around 140 children inside the mosque complex. Police said his actions were heroic and undoubtedly saved lives. He was not the kind of man whose life usually becomes a headline. To many people walking into the Islamic Center of San Diego, he was simply the security guard, the man near the entrance, the man watching quietly, the man people passed while going inside. But behind that uniform, there was a whole life. Amin Abdullah was 51 years old, a father, a family man, a person with people waiting for him at home. He was a father of 8, and his children later remembered him with deep love and grief. That matters, because when we say he sacrificed his life, it can sound like a movie line. But it was not a movie line. It was real. It meant children lost their father. A family lost its protector. A home lost the man who used to walk through the door. And that is what makes this story so powerful. Amin Abdullah was not a superhero. He was human. He could feel fear. He had a reason to survive. He had a family to return to. But when danger came for other people's children, he did not think only about himself. And here is something that makes it even deeper. He did not become a security guard by accident. He had been shaken years earlier by the 2019 mosque massacre in Christchurch, New Zealand, an attack that killed 51 people, the same number as his own age. According to his son, he wanted to defend the innocent, so he chose this job. He chose this door. The place he protected was not just a building. The Islamic Center of San Diego was a mosque, a school, a community center, a place where families came to pray, a place where children came to learn, a place where parents believed their kids would be safe. That day, around 140 children were inside the mosque complex, and no children were harmed. That number is the heart of this story. 140 children, 140 families, 140 futures, and all of them were about to be protected by a man the world barely knew. It was May 18th, 2026, a normal day in San Diego. The sun was out. Cars moved through the streets. People were going to work. Parents were dropping children off. Phones were buzzing. Lunch plans were being made. Nothing about the day looked historic. Nothing about it looked deadly. That is the terrifying thing about real tragedies. They do not always begin with warning signs. They begin with normal life. A child saying goodbye to a parent. A teacher preparing a lesson. A guard standing at his post. A worshiper walking toward prayer. And then, everything changes. Inside the Islamic Center, children were doing what children do. Some were probably focused on class. Some were probably distracted. Some may have been whispering to friends. Some may have been watching the clock. To them, it was just another school day. They did not know that outside, danger was getting closer. 2 teenage suspects arrived at the mosque: Caleb Liam Vasquez, age 18, Kane Lee Clark, age 17. They did not grow up together. According to police, they met in the dark, radicalized corners of the internet, exchanging hate online, before realizing they both lived in the San Diego area. Authorities are investigating the attack as a hate crime. A racist manifesto believed to be written by them was later found online. Investigators are also examining whether the attack was tied to a broader nihilistic, violent extremism. The full motive is still being pieced together, but the target tells you enough, because this was not just violence. It was violence arriving at a place of worship, a place where people lowered their heads in prayer, a place where families brought their children. A place that should have been sacred, safe, untouched. But hate does not care about sacred places. It does not care about children. It does not care about families. It only needs one open door, one weak moment, one chance. And that is why Amin Abdullah's position mattered. He was not standing somewhere random. He was near the line between peace and danger. Behind him, children. In front of him, attackers. And in the middle, seconds. The kind of seconds that decide whether a tragedy becomes even worse. The shooting was reported shortly before noon. Police received the first calls at around 11:43 a.m. The first gunshots cracked through the air. A normal day shattered instantly. People outside froze. Some ran. Some ducked. Some did not understand what was happening. Because the first few seconds of an attack are always confusion. Your brain refuses to believe it. Was that a car backfiring? Was that fireworks? Was that really gunfire? Then the second shot answers the question. Panic spreads faster than sound. Someone screams. Someone grabs a phone. Someone runs toward the building. Someone runs away from it, and inside the school. The children still need to be protected. This is where most people would break. Because fear does not ask for permission. It takes over the body. Your legs want to move. Your heart starts pounding. Your mind screams one word, survive. But Amin Abdullah did something different. Police say the gunman actually ran past him first. He could have let them go. He could have stayed down. Instead, he turned toward the threat. He reached for his radio. He triggered the lockdown, and then he engaged the attackers with gunfire. That moment is everything, because in a scene filled with panic, he created order. In a moment filled with fear, he sent a warning. In a few seconds, he gave the people inside a chance. And sometimes, a chance is the only difference between life and death. Imagine the scene like a film. The camera starts inside a classroom. Children sitting at desks. A teacher speaking, a pencil tapping, a page turning. Then suddenly, a distant sound. Pop. Then another. Pop. Pop. The teacher stops. The room goes quiet. Outside, Amin Abdullah is moving. His hand goes to the radio. His voice cuts through the chaos. Lockdown. Now. Doors begin to close. Adults rush children away from windows. Students are pulled into corners. Lights are turned off. Small voices are told to stay silent. Tiny hands cover mouths. A normal school day becomes a survival drill. Only this is not a drill. This is real. And outside, the man who warned them is now facing the attackers. San Diego Police Chief Scott Wall later described what surveillance footage showed. After the gunman ran past him, Abdullah observed the threat and began to engage them with gunfire. Both suspects returned fire. He radioed in the lockdown protocol and kept fighting. Think about the courage inside that moment. He did not just hide. He drew his own weapon. He stood his ground in front of the center, and he traded gunfire with two armed teenagers. He could have run. He could have hidden. He could have told himself, "I have done enough," and no one would have known what was happening inside his mind. But he did not stop at the warning. He confronted the danger. Chief Wall would later reveal a terrifying truth. The 140 children inside were within 15 feet of the suspects, 15 feet. The length of a car. That was the distance between life and a massacre. Police said Abdullah's actions, without a doubt, delayed, distracted, and ultimately deterred the two from reaching the greater areas of the mosque. He became the obstacle, the delay, the wall between evil and innocence. Every second he held them back. A door locked. Every second he distracted them. A child moved to safety. Every second he fought. A teacher had more time to protect a classroom. That is what makes this story cinematic, but also painful. Because the hero is not saving people in slow motion. He is saving them in chaos, with noise, fear, confusion. No guarantee of survival, no perfect plan, just instinct, duty, and sacrifice. Inside the mosque complex, the lockdown spread. Imagine the adults trying to stay calm while their own hands are shaking. They cannot panic in front of the children. They cannot cry. They cannot scream. They have to whisper, "Stay down. Don't move. Be quiet. You are going to be okay." But they do not know if that is true. Tragically, Amin Abdullah died in that gun battle. But the tragedy was not over. The two other men killed that day were not standing guard. They were part of the community. Mansoor Kaziha, age 78, the mosque's shopkeeper for nearly 40 years. A beloved elder known for letting children take candy for free. And Nadir Awad, age 57, a neighbor and Uber driver whose wife was a teacher at the mosque school. According to police, these two men drew the attention of the suspects, pulling the danger out toward the parking lot, away from the rooms full of children. There, they were cornered and could not flee. The attack killed all three men, Amin Abdullah, Mansoor Kaziha, and Nadir Awad. Reuters reported that no children at the mosque school were harmed. That is the miracle inside the tragedy. 3 men lost their lives, families were shattered, a community was scarred, but the children lived. The attackers did not reach the nightmare they could have created. And according to police, Amin Abdullah's actions helped save as many as 140 children. 3 men used their final moments to protect them. That is not just bravery, that is legacy. After the shooting, sirens filled the area. Police arrived within minutes. Officers reached the scene by 11:47 a.m. and found 3 deceased men outside the center. They immediately pushed into the building and the adjacent school to find the shooters. But the violence had already moved. The gunmen had fled. A few blocks away, they fired at a landscaper in the street. Then, in a nearby neighborhood, they were found dead in a vehicle, from self-inflicted gunshot wounds. There was also a chilling detail from earlier that morning. The mother of the 17-year-old had called police hours before, worried her son was missing and suicidal, reporting that weapons and her vehicle were gone. Police had already been searching when the attack began. Meanwhile, parents began hearing the words no parent ever wants to hear. There has been a shooting at the Islamic Center, at the place where your child is. Imagine that drive, the longest few minutes of your life. You do not know what is true. You do not know who is safe. You call, no answer. You call again. Still nothing. Your mind starts creating the worst images possible. You pray. You speed up. You check your phone. You look for updates. And then finally, you reach the reunification area, a crowd of terrified parents, police tape, crying families, people asking the same question again and again. Where is my child? A reunification center was set up after the attack so families could reconnect with loved ones. Then comes the moment. A child walks out, alive. A parent sees them. The parent runs. The child runs. They hold each other like they never want to let go again. For those families, that hug was not ordinary. That hug was a gift, a second life, a miracle bought by someone else's courage. But while many parents were reunited with their children, 3 families were receiving a different kind of news. Amin Abdullah's family was learning that their father was not coming home. The family of Mansoor Kaziha was grieving a beloved elder. The family of Nadir Awad was mourning a neighbor who ran toward the danger. That is the cruelest part of this story. The men who helped other families stay whole left their own families broken. Amin's children would hear people call him a hero. They would hear strangers praise his courage. Why Amin Abdullah is an unsung hero. Amin Abdullah is an unsung hero because he represents the kind of courage people usually notice too late. Security guards are often invisible. People walk past them. People barely look at them. At schools, hospitals, offices, mosques, temples, churches, malls. They stand at doors while everyone else continues life normally. And when nothing happens, people think their job is simple. But when danger comes, that ordinary post can become the most important place in the world. On May 18th, 2026, Amin Abdullah's post became exactly that. He was standing at the thin line between safety and disaster. And when the moment came, he did not disappear. He acted. He warned. He fought. He delayed. And because of that, sometimes heroism is one hand reaching for a radio, one weapon drawn in defense of the innocent, one warning shouted at the right moment, one man refusing to move aside, one final stand that gives children time to hide. Amin Abdullah did not save lives with power. He did not save lives with fame. He saved them with seconds. And in an attack like this, seconds are everything. To the people at the Islamic Center of San Diego, he wasn't just a stoic figure in a uniform. He greeted people with a bright smile. He offered the occasional piece of life advice. The imam remembered him as a warm, gentle soul. And guarding this specific mosque wasn't just a job to pay the bills. It came from something deeper. Remember, he had been shaken by the Christchurch massacre. His son said he wanted to defend the innocent. So he stood at this door on purpose. His daughter, Hawa, shared a detail that says everything. He took his job so seriously that he would sometimes skip meals, afraid that if he stepped away on a break, something bad might happen. He wanted to stay at his post. He wanted to stay watching. He wanted to be there if the worst ever came. And on May 18th, the worst did come. And he was exactly where he had chosen to be. There is another quiet, painful detail. Just the week before, Hawa earned her teaching credential. Her father couldn't make it to celebrate because he was at work. She didn't hold it against him. She shared it as proof of how seriously he took protecting that mosque and those children. As a father of 8, he knew what it meant to protect. Not because someone teaches it in a book, but because love teaches it every day. Amin Abdullah's legacy is not only that he died in the attack. His legacy is that 140 children lived through it. His legacy is in the families who got to go home together, in the parents who held their children tighter that night, in the classrooms that were not emptied by tragedy, in the futures that continued. The legacy also belongs to Mansour Kaziha, whose decades of kindness built this community, and to Nadir Awad, whose final moments pulled the danger away from the children. Maybe one of those 140 children will grow up to become a doctor. Maybe one will become a teacher. Maybe one will become a parent. Maybe one will one day tell their own child, "There was a man who protected us." That is legacy.